Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered.
Hello, and welcome to the GSMC Travel Podcast, brought to you by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Stacey, and today we are talking about Haiti. Now, I don't actually remember learning much about Haiti in school, to the point that prior to the earthquake that happened a few years ago, I don't know that I even knew that Haiti shared the island with the Dominican Republic. I somehow thought Haiti was its own island. So yes, clearly my education very lacking so much in the Haiti part. But Haiti is about 27,750 square kilometers in size and has an estimated 10.8 million people, making it not only the most populous country in the Caribbean community, the sort of organization, but the second most populous country in the Caribbean as a whole. And as I mentioned earlier, it shares, I'm not sure if that island is still now known this way or was historically known as Hispaniola, which is the island where Columbus landed. Haiti takes about 3/8, I believe they say, of that island, and then the Dominican Republic on the eastern side. Haiti was established as a sovereign nation on January 1st, 1804. It was the first independent nation of Latin America and the Caribbean, the second republic in the Americas, and it is the only nation in the world established as a result of a successful slave revolt. Which, again, my education, sorely lacking in Haiti info, did not know that. Did not even know there was any country whatsoever established as a slave revolt that actually lasted as a country. I know there were a number of slave revolts, and I'm sure some of them were like, hey, we've revolted, let's make our own country, but then I believe they were really put down. So the fact that Haiti as a country was established as a slave revolt, quite amazing. However, since then, Haiti has had more than 30 coups. So it's cool on the one hand, but on the other hand, had some problems after independence. France, the U.S., other Western countries have repeatedly intervened in Haitian politics since that revolt. Sometimes at the request of one party, sometimes at another, sometimes to sort of maintain the peace in the area. Even within the first 20 or so years of the founding of Haiti as an independent nation, there was sort of internal political strife. So cool beginning and then interesting middle. According to a 2006 report by the Corruption Perceptions Index, there's a strong correlation between corruption and poverty in Haiti, which I think for most people beyond the earthquake is probably all they really know about Haiti. The commune of, and I apologize, I know very little French, so I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce a number of things. The commune of Cité Soleil in Port-au-Prince has been called the most dangerous place on earth by the United Nations, and it is one of the largest slums in the Northern Hemisphere. But interestingly, and maybe this goes back to just the history of Haiti, because when it was first founded as an independent nation, it was actually kind of split into two. That is more sort of located to certain parts of Haiti, and other parts of Haiti are actually pretty relatively calm. So Haiti does have tourism, usually to those more calm parts. There certainly to Port-au-Prince, which is the main city, but in recent years, I believe the U.S. has put out a travel advisory warning about going to Port-au-Prince. So there are other places to go in Haiti besides Port-au-Prince. You don't have to only go there, and there are places that are not considered as bad. Haiti has a national tourism slogan of Vive la Différence, and in 2014, it received around 1.25 million tourists, mostly from cruise ships. There is actually at least one, and possibly more than one, sort of private beach resorts that are leased by, at least one is leased by the Royal Caribbean cruise ship company. And it's like fenced off from the rest so that only cruise ship people and then locals who work there can actually get into it. So if you happen to be visiting Haiti but aren't on that cruise ship, you can't actually get into that resort. Interesting. Haiti has the second longest, coastline of beaches and the most mountainous ranges in the Caribbean. And the city that we're talking about today is Cap-Haitien. I believe Cap, and now I'm questioning whether or not it's pronounced Cap, stands for Cape. It's the, French word for capes, which is why I'm questioning whether or not it's pronounced Cap. It was historically nicknamed the Paris of the Antilles because of its wealth and sophistication expressed through its beautiful architecture and artistic life. It's also attracted more international tourists as it has been isolated from the political instability in the south of the island. So again, outside of Port-au-Prince, other places to go, including Cap-Haitien. It's known as Haiti's largest center of historic monuments. And this is kind of interesting because Cap-Haitien was originally called, I think, Cap Français, and then Cap Henry, and now it's Cap-Haitien. There's a number of things that were sort of renamed around Haiti, and that probably has to do with the somewhat tumultuous history of the country. But when the whole slave revolt and independence thing happened, there was sort of one main person and then his sort of generals, but one of those generals planned to assassinate him, and the other general seemed to know about it and didn't really stop. And so he was assassinated, and then those two generals took over and sort of split the country into... They both kind of claimed they were Haiti, but it was essentially North Haiti and South Haiti, and Cap-Haitien was at that time the capital of the northern version of Haiti, I guess you would say. After the slave revolution, Cap-Haitien was made the capital by... I'm going to read it as Henry Christophe, just because I'm terrible, though I'm sure the French, it should actually be something along the lines of Henri. But again, my French is terrible, so apologize for the terrible American Henry Christophe. I am the American, not Henry Christophe. But yes, he pronounced himself king and made Cap-Haitien the capital of the kingdom. In 1807, he declared himself President and Generalissimo of the armies of land and sea of the state of Haiti. Bit of a long title there. But then later, on March 26, 1811, he created a kingdom in the north and proclaimed himself Henry I, King of Haiti, and his full title was given as Henry, by the grace of God and constitutional law of the state, King of Haiti, Sovereign of Tortuga, Gonave, and other adjacent lands, destroyer of tyranny, regenerator and benefactor of the Haitian nation, creator of her moral, political, and martial institutions, first crowned monarch of the New World, defender of the faith, founder of the Royal Military Order of St. Henry. Wow, that is a mouthful. Definitely following along with... Can you even call that royal tradition? It feels very royal tradition. Like, oh yes, royals always have to say something in like 120 words when you could say it in like 10. But I'm not sure that's all royal families. But I do believe he was modeling his monarchy a good part after the European monarchies, perhaps, maybe including France. Part of, I think, what happened here is that France was going through its own revolution and so couldn't really, deal with Haiti, and the Haitians were smart enough to take advantage of that and declare their independence, so good for them. But we will talk a bit more about King Henry Christophe after the break. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Travel Podcast.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith.
An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Welcome back to the GSMC Travel Podcast. Before the break, we were talking about Henry Christophe, who pronounced himself King of Haiti. And as part of being king, he created not only his own kingdom, but an elaborate Haitian peerage. He named his son his prince and heir apparent, and he originally made 4 princes, 8 dukes, 22 counts, 40 barons, and 14 knights. However, Henry was not a very popular monarch. His sort of government system economically was based on forced labor, though evidently not quite slavery, a little confusing there. But he did manage to rule for a number of years, but then had a stroke and decided, since he was weakened by his stroke, rather than sort of wait and maybe risk someone else having a coup against him and assassinating him, he decided to kill himself. Haitian legend has it that he shot himself with a silver bullet, but either way, he died at the age of 53, and then just 10 days later, his son and heir apparent was bayoneted. Some say at the Citadel Lafayette, some say at the Sanssouci Palace, both of which we will talk about in a moment. But either way, the monarchy very quickly was no more. So, to the Citadel Lafayette. Again, I apologize for my pronunciation. The Citadel is located about 17 miles south of Cap-Haitien, near a town called, I want to say Milo, M-I-L-O-T. Along with the remains of the Sanssouci Palace, it has been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And if you've listened to this podcast, you would know I'm kind of a fan of UNESCO World Heritage Sites and culture and imaginations. So yes, the Citadel was built by up to 20,000 workers between 1805 and 1820 as part of a system of fortifications designed to keep Haiti, which was then very newly independent, safe from a French attack, because of course they all assumed France would come back and attack and try and retake over Haiti. That attack never actually happened. The Citadel was eventually abandoned. However, it was at the time, and it's still now, it's huge. It is sort of the main landmark, most certainly of this area, and one of the main things that people go to Haiti to see. It has 130-foot walls and covers an area of roughly 110,000 square feet. And it had large cisterns and storehouses, which were designed to store enough food and water for 5,000 defenders for up to 1 year, as well as palace quarters for the king and his family, dungeons, bathing quarters, and bakery ovens. The Citadel had 365 cannons of different sizes and seemingly from different nations, and it's not quite clear how they got all of them, because supposedly at least one of them, by the markings on the cannon, appears to have been made in England after the Haitian Revolution, so it's not clear why it's at the Citadel and how it got there. But anyways, on a clear day, it is actually possible to see the eastern coast of Cuba from the Citadel, Cuba being roughly 87 miles to the west. This fortress, it doesn't have a roof, so I suppose if it was raining, you probably wouldn't want to go visit. But on sunny days, it looks very like you're walking through, I don't know, a ruined battle castle. I know it's in Haiti, but it kind of made me think of Braveheart for some reason. Maybe that's just the whole not having a roof thing. And there are these mounds of cannonballs, which I'm sure have been like made safe so they won't explode. But these mounds of cannonballs just set in pyramids, not only on the sort of lawn, but actually at parts along the hallways as well, where it's just showing you sort of the amount, I guess, of material to defend themselves they had at the time, because of course they were constantly expecting an attack from France, which somehow never came. Looking around the Citadel, it also seems sort of, how did you do this at night? There aren't too many guardrails, and the ones that are there do seem to be sort of more modern and not of the era when the Citadel was originally built. So it does make you wonder how people were going up these stairs and along these sort of roofs and hallways with no guardrails, but maybe they're just better at that than I am. I don't know. The Citadel also now contains the tomb of King Henry. His loyal followers, after he was dead, supposedly covered his body in quicklime and then hid it away so that it wouldn't be like desecrated. And then the tomb was placed in the Citadel to hold him there, and it is still there to this day. Sans Souci Palace is about 3 miles northeast of the Citadel. It was considered the most important of the palaces built by King Henry Christophe, and he evidently built about 9 palaces, plus 15 chateaux, numerous forts, and sprawling summer homes on his 20 plantations. He evidently had a lot of land and was building a lot of things, including a number of fortresses, because the Citadel was not the only fortress as well. It was part of his plan to sort of demonstrate to foreigners, especially Europeans and Americans, the power and capability of the Black race, but it was still heavily based on and inspired by European architecture, similar, I think, in many ways to the way he set up his monarchy. That it was sort of to show and sort of Black people can be equal to sort of thing, but not in a specifically, this is our Black culture sort of way, but in a we can match you at your own style sort of thing. Under Henry Christophe's reign, the palace was the site of opulent feasts and dances. It had immense gardens, artificial springs, and a system of waterworks. It was actually, at that time, considered sort of the equivalent of the Palace of Versailles. And if you've ever seen the Palace of Versailles, which is still maintained to this day, it's huge and it's opulent. Sans Souci is not as well maintained because a good part of it was destroyed in an earthquake in 1842. But it's still mostly standing. If you go there, you can definitely get a sense of the sort of grandeur of the palace of the time. It is very interesting that Sans Souci, which means roughly carefree, shares its name actually with another Haitian revolutionary leader, the Colonel Jean-Baptiste Sans Souci, who actually refused to join Henry Christophe and his compatriots when they did their revolution, but he was later invited by Henry Christophe after the revolution, and when he had, I believe, already taken sort of northern Haiti as his own, to sort of come and let bygones be bygones. But then when Sans Souci arrived with his guard, Christophe had his guards kill them all, and the palace was built either on or near the site where Sanssouci was actually killed. Henri Christophe was an interesting man, evidently. But despite all that, what remains of the palace still looks to be an amazing, opulent sort of stone building. But it is a bit of a hike, and there are ways to see both Sanssouci and the Citadel together. They're usually sold as sort of one ticket for the tourist, but especially the Citadel, being a citadel, is up on a hill and a bit of a hike, and so you may want to hire a local guide to sort of take you around. I saw someone had a local sort of motorcycle guide who drove him to these places so he didn't have to walk as much. If you do walk, there are a number of locals who will be set up to sell, water and fruit juice and what have you. And Haiti is in the Caribbean, so you will most definitely want to stay hydrated. But it looks to be a wonderful place to sort of go and imagine how this, Versailles of the Caribbean must have looked in its heyday to be considered on par with such a magnificent house in this country that had until recently not even been its own country. So I'd definitely be fascinated, and I'm the type of person who would go there and kind of imagine myself back in that time with those big dresses and to try and imagine what the parties would have looked like. And I have gone off in my own little imaginary world, as I tend to do. So we're going to take another short break, and I will try and come back to reality. Stay tuned.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Travel Podcast. Our tip for today is when you get to your hotel room to unplug or reset the alarm clock. This doesn't happen so much nowadays because people do tend to use their cell phones for alarms, but I have had this happen to me at least once where I was in a hotel room. I didn't even look at the alarm clock because I wasn't going to use it, and it went off at 5 something in the morning. And my first thought is, why are you getting up at 5 in the morning? And my second thought is, wait, why doesn't that automatically reset itself to, when the guests are not here? Why is this here? I just want to sleep in. I'm in a hotel. I'm not at home. I don't have to get up for anything. Seriously? So just to be safe, again, most people don't use the alarm clock, and I haven't had it happen to me since then, and that was at least a decade ago. But yes, just for your sleep's sake, especially if you're going to sleep in, just reset the alarm clock or just unplug it even. Because the hotel staff can fix it if they want to. And again, most people don't use the alarm clock, so it's not too upsetting for them. So our site today is El Camino Travel. And if you've listened to a number of episodes on this podcast, you'll notice that I tend to like sites that do sort of group travel things. And part of that might be me trying to fight against my natural introvert inclination, which would not only have me being by myself, but would probably have me not even traveling, period, which is why all my travelings are imaginary with my imaginary adventurers and imaginary lovers, because my introvert self has not actually gone out there and gotten to them yet. But El Camino Travel is another one of those we make group travel things. So it offers highly curated travel experiences from local experts. And all the trips have evidently been designed by Colombian-American founder Catalina Mayorga. And I apologize if I mispronounced that name. Catalina Mayorga is constantly sourcing new experiences and on the pulse of the emerging creative economies of all the destinations. She also seems to be very much interested in economically benefiting local people so that the money goes back into the places where you are and not just to, bigger businesses, I guess, that don't need it exactly. All of the sort of group travel experiences are actually accompanied by a talented photographer who will take pictures, and then each morning will deliver about 20 or so that you can immediately share with your social media. And the idea behind this is so that you can just focus on enjoying the trip and enjoying the experience and not feeling like you have to get your phone out all the time to sort of take a picture or capture the moment or record the memories, that you can just be there and be present and yet still have the pictures to look back on. I don't know that I would still leave my cell phone anywhere, but it would be nice to not have to be like, oh, gotta take a picture here. Okay, oh, this is really cool, gotta take a picture. Like, just to be there without stopping and thinking of, oh, I've got to preserve this moment to know that it's there sounds really cool. It does not, at the moment, currently offer trips to Haiti, but it does at the moment offer trips to Cuba, which we did mention you could see from the Citadel, as well as Colombia and Nicaragua. So if those are places you're interested in going, you might want to give that a look. It is elcamino.travel. And I know we've mentioned a couple of sites on this podcast that go to Cuba, and I think part of that is just that the situation with Cuba has only in the past couple of years become a viable travel option for Americans. And you might want to quickly jump on that because as we're seeing politics change, that might not always be the case. And we might go back to the whole we don't have a relationship with Cuba thing. We did remove our embassy staff, or not our embassy staff, just our personnel. I'm not sure we have an embassy in Cuba, but we did remove our personnel, and it has sort of been placed back, not on a you can't travel there thing, but at least one of the ways that you could travel there has been sort of removed or altered. So it would definitely help, I think, to have a site like El Camino Travel that's sort of setting everything up and planning it, especially for a country like Cuba, where there wouldn't even necessarily be that many resources for you to plan it yourself because it has been closed to Americans for so long. I know I've mentioned a number of group sites on this podcast, and I will try to vary from that going forward. But again, I've said before, I'm an introvert, and it can be hard for introverts to just leave the house. Going to a foreign country can seem like a terrifying thing, but then B, even if you do go, often trips by yourself, even if that's your natural inclination in your everyday life, you may not want that for a trip. Trips are sort of out of the ordinary. This is not your regular everyday life. Obviously, you're going off to a foreign country you may or may not have ever been to before, where you may or may not speak the language. That sounds like a really good time to sort of change things up. And even if you don't want to change things up, it's kind of almost required, just because so many things would still be different in a foreign country and a foreign culture where you don't know where things are, even if it's a country that your country has a good relationship with, even if it's a country where you totally speak the language. Just even, I know within English, there's a number of accents where it's like, look, I'm American and I speak English, but if I go to England, I may not understand everything that's said there the accents can throw things off. And I would certainly get lost because I've never been there. And actually in England, they drive on the other side of the road than we do. So even that would be kind of complicated. So it can be very helpful to travel in a group, even if it's not a group you necessarily would have chose, just to sort of have a sort of comrades in arms situation with people who are in the same situation as you and can therefore understand what you're going through. But as I mentioned, I will try and vary that a bit going forward. So I hope you do tune in next time to the GSMC Travel Podcast. Thank you for listening.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network, from travel to health and wellness to entertainment and life and happiness to sex and relationships. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast.